So, hold on, everyone.
Are you able to hear us online?
Oh,
I was gonna type, but that's
Okay.
not me. I can't.
that, so the audio came back.
Like,
So let's turn on here. Okay.
We'll do one more test. Commissioner Jones, can you hear me? Good. Kathy, you can hear us too?
Yeah, sorry, I can hear you. I think that was my issue. Sorry about that.
Okay. But Kathy, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Ah, good, thank you. All right, so let's start it.
Start again. City of Oregon City, our commission meeting, May 19th, starting 7:03. Dan, could you please do roll call?
Yes, just a second, I gotta record the cloud here.
This meeting is being recorded.
There we go. Commissioner Andrews,
Here.
Commissioner Andrus,
Here.
Commissioner Carlson,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Lugo,
here,
Commissioner Planton,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
here,
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Commissioner Burig did message me and said that she was going to be unavailable.
First on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. And we'll proceed. The approval of the minutes were sent out to everyone. Are there any changes or any revisions that anybody would like to bring up at this time? The only thing that I did see is that on page 2, under Downtown Oregon City Association, Liz Hannum's name is spelled incorrectly.
Oh, no.
But that was the only revision I saw.
I will correct that.
Anyone else? Any revisions, any changes? If there are no further corrections, the minutes stand approved as distributed as corrected.
They need to actually vote.
Oh,
Or, so
okay.
there needs to be a motion to approve it.
Oh,
and a
motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes. I second.
Who's, oh, Carlson,
Correct.
thank you.
All those in favor,
Say aye.
raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Nay?
Commissioner Jones raised her hand.
Okay. The minutes stand approved as corrected. First on our agenda for presentations is the Three Rivers Artist Guild, Tamara Scott, President.
We have to have public comment. Is there?
Oh,
Oh,
Public comment is
yes, we need to
Okay, we'll have to
adjust
add
the
that.
agenda, so I'll need to actually have everyone approve the agenda change. We need to move public comments in future meetings to before presentations.
okay.
So I'll need a motion and a second.
I move that we move the public comment section of our minutes to prior to presentations, and that's noted in our minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? No. Moving public hearing before presentations is approved.
Public comments.
There are no public comments at
I'm
this
sorry,
time.
public comments. So are we ready now for presentations?
We are.
Our first presentation of the night is from the Three Rivers Artist Guild. Tamara Scott, thank you so much for coming. Welcome.
Yes, please. Make sure the little red light's on in front of you.
Looks like it is. Oh, I can hear
yes.
it. Okay. Hello. As Trey said, I'm Tamara Scott, and I'm the current president of the Three Rivers Artist Guild. And thank you for inviting me to make a little presentation tonight. I'd like to start off by reporting our mission statement to you, which is we are a welcoming and inclusive organization providing mutual support, encouragement, services, and education for the enrichment of artists and their communities. Just a little bit of history on TRAG. TRAG was created in February of 2007 when a group of artists held their first organizational meeting at the Pioneer Community Center in Oregon City and participated in the first Heart of Oregon show at the Museum of the Oregon Territory that same month. By March, the bylaws were approved and the Three Rivers Artists Guild became official. Within that first year, TRAG was invited to participate in the gallery at the End of the Trail Interpretive Center, became a member of the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, took part in the Skylight Gallery hosted by the Arts Action Alliance, hosted a recycled art show, and installed an art exhibition and sale for Clackamas Live in Milwaukee. An auspicious beginning, to be sure. Since then, TRAG has been an active and proud member of the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, the Oregon City Business Alliance, Buy Local Oregon City, and proud supporters of the Clackamas Arts Alliance and the Regional Arts Alliance. Prior to the pandemic, TRAG membership was approximately 135 members. We have maintained our membership fairly well through the pandemic and are currently at 94 members and steadily growing again. In 2009, TRAG opened its own gallery inside the Friends of the Library bookstore. 6 years later, in March of 2015, due to needing more space to display art, TRAG moved the gallery inside the Singer Hill Cafe and received their 501c3 status that same year. Unfortunately, due to Singer Hill Cafe closing during the pandemic, and in spite of great effort on TRAG's part to keep our doors open, the gallery was closed in late June 2021. All TRAG gallery equipment was removed from Singer Hill by the end of November 2021 when it was clear that we would not be able to reopen anytime soon. TRAG takes its mission statement to encourage, educate, and support the arts in our community very seriously. The following are programs TRAG sponsors and participates in. The Partners in Art program. TRAG seeks out local businesses that wish to display art by local artists. Some of our past partners included Museum of the Oregon Territory, the Bowerman Law Group, Oregon City Chiropractic, Oregon City Healthcare, End of the Trail Visitor Center, and the River Shore Bar and Grill. Currently, Citizens Bank has TRAG's 2D art pieces on display, and we soon will be displaying 2D art pieces in Hillside Chapel. We also had art in the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce office until they had to move to a new location. So we're currently discussing how to rejuvenate this program to include many more businesses in Oregon City, especially in light of the fact that we no longer have our gallery right now. TRAG also offers monthly meetings. We meet on the second Monday of each month, and we hold a meeting for the Guild where the public is more than welcome. After a short business summary, educational presentations are given, such as photographing artwork, how to approach a gallery, creating an artist statement, copyright issues, how to create a website and Facebook account, insurance issues, tax questions, creative writing, and applying to art shows online. We're also going to include art demonstrations at some of our monthly meetings this year. And as well, we have done art projects together, and February of 2020, right before the pandemic, we had a night where we made Valentines for one of the local care facilities in town and gave those to the residents there. We have a newsletter that's sent out twice a month. It includes opportunities for artists, a space for artists to advertise classes they're teaching, etc. And additionally, we have a website that has all the information about the Guild on there. And this also includes an area where members can have a free gallery page on the website. We have 3 shows now. One is the holiday show, and that's around, obviously, holiday gift season time. It's usually, or almost always, held the first weekend in December at the Pioneer Center. Booths are open to TRAG members only for that show. The Oregon City Festival of the Arts is an art festival of 65-plus juried artists, open to any artist, not just Guild members. We have local music and local food vendors. This is the largest festival of its kind in Oregon City with 2,500-plus visitors each year. This year will be our 6th year. We have low booth fees and try to break even each year. Any profit goes into the budget for the following year's event. And we recently had our second spring fleeing art show and sale, and we'll be making this an annual event as well, and hoping to do it at the Pioneer Center, where it's an area where we're pretty much known. So we hope to get more traffic that way. TRAG also volunteers. Some of the members help with the Partner with Arts and Poetry contest in Oregon City, and that's going on right now, and 6 of our members are a part of that. We received the Metro Enhancement Grant 2 years in a row. We did the SAGE project 1 year where we put large 3 by 5 foot prints of art in empty storefronts. That was in 2020. And last year, the grant money was used for the restoration of the mural over Don Pepe's on Main Street, and the remaining funds will be used for a mural, hopefully, on the wall of White Rabbit Black Ink facing Highway 99 this year. That mural will be done by a tribal artist. And since we can only get the grant 2 years in a row and are required to take the 3rd year off, we were not able to apply for a grant this year. We have partnered with the Rotary, doing a wreath-making project in the past 2 years, and the First City Celebration, where we did the We Love Oregon City project. All proceeds from these projects went to the schools in Oregon City for their art departments. And we always make a donation at the end of the year to a nonprofit. These donations usually go to the Oregon City Schools art departments, and this last year, we actually donated to the Children's Center for their art therapy supplies. So one of the questions posed was, have the arts played any significant role in your organization? Obviously, it's our sole purpose for being. And we hope that that continues. So we recently conducted a member survey and got amazing ideas for member meeting presentations, TRAG involvement in the community, as well as dream big ideas. These ideas will take TRAG through at least the next 3 years of programming, and it was very exciting to get all the new ideas. I wanted to share one of the dream big ideas we received, and that is that TRAG grows into not only a guild, but a community artist resource center with facilities to not only display work from members, but to offer classes, rent studio space to artists on a monthly rotation. There's a wish for a ceramic studio, a painting studio, even a small theater, and to offer live drawing sessions to anyone. Current members would be discounted, of course, and we all feel that we need a community arts center, and it is definitely a big dream of ours for that to happen. How I'd like to engage the Arts Commission and the City of Oregon City on further promoting the arts. We have a liaison to the Arts Commission from our board, who is Kathy Rowe, and she's present tonight. We want to partner with the Arts Commission on projects involving the arts in Oregon City. And some of the questions or requests we have for the Oregon City Arts Commission. Given that TRAG is an all-volunteer organization, we could use your help with funding to help offset some of the volunteer responsibilities, such as funding or finding a building space to have a new gallery for TRAG. This is a huge wish of ours and something that we're seriously looking into right now. And we've also recently gotten information that one of the other galleries in the local area, not Oregon City, obviously, lost their 501c3 fund status due to their gallery and paying artists. So that's something that we really need to look into to make sure that we don't lose our 501c3 status. But we really do want a gallery. And many community members at our shows have expressed to us that they really miss having the gallery here in Oregon City. The artists are definitely missing having the gallery to display and sell their artwork locally. And this is especially important for new artists or emerging artists. It's oftentimes their first opportunity to display their art publicly. So if we could partner with the Arts Commission and each pay half for a space, that would be wonderful. Ideally, we would find a space that has room not only for the gallery, but also a space where art classes for the Oregon City community could be offered. We can definitely be your hands and feet to help with arts education in Oregon City. Funding for a gallery manager would also be helpful to help prevent burnout of TRAG members who must work in the gallery to keep it open. And I forgot to say that many of the available spaces that we have seen locally are renting for almost double what TRAG could actually afford. And one of the spaces, I'll just say it, is the old, where Christmas Zoo was. I've looked at that place a lot. I tried to contact the owner, but never heard back because I'm not even sure I contacted the right person. But I believe from looking at pictures online that there's a large space behind the storefront that could definitely be used as a classroom or a space for workshops. And that, to me, I've had that niggling in my brain since right before I became president, and I would love to see the opportunity for that space or something similar. We've also received inquiries for at least 3 more murals in Oregon City, in addition to the murals we already have planned. Assistance with funding, along with the business owners, of course, for these would be extremely helpful and would allow for more murals in Oregon City. So a couple of the questions I have is the Oregon City Arts Commission able to help with funding of special projects? And what is the Oregon City Art Commission's goals for the arts in Oregon City? And thank you again so much for inviting me to speak on behalf of TRAG here tonight.
Oh, could you stay for a minute?
Can we ask questions?
Just trying to escape.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah.
I would like to know if organizations can be participants of TRAG. I know I am volunteer at Soul Flags Art Community Center, which is on Main Street, and we would love to work with TRAG. I don't know if we could have you visit maybe sometime to take a look at our space.
Yeah,
We're on Main
would
Street.
yeah, I would love
We do
to-
art classes for youth and adults, but can organizations join?
You know, that has come up. I know we've talked about this through email prior to the Arts Commission starting. And it's, I don't think it's in our bylaws at this point, but we are revisiting those this year and hoping to include that. And I have addressed it with the board already. Obviously, it's a big issue that we have to really discuss and how that would work with the organization. Like, could all the members come, you know, of the organization come to the meetings, et cetera, which we don't necessarily have a problem with, but we're kind of looking at what we could provide for organizations too. So it's definitely being looked at and something that we want to offer. It's just a matter of semantics and getting that into the bylaws at this point. But I am interested in coming by. I know previously was during the pandemic, we had some people went by to look at the place, or I don't know if that ever came to fruition. I wasn't president then, but I was a board member. So I am aware of that, but I would be interested in chatting with you separately about coming to see that space.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions.
Yes.
So the first one I was curious about was, you said that Kathy Rowe here online is the liaison to the Oregon City Arts Commission. Is that what you said? Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I've never met Kathy before. Has Kathy always been
I don't
a
think
liaison
she's
to-
necessarily part of the commission, but would be in contact with either Trieste or somebody, one of the commissioners, to try and get the information back to the
Great.
guild about
Okay.
what's happening with the Arts Commission.
Great. Okay.
Yes, I wanted to be careful about conflict of interest, so rather than being very
Yeah, that's a good
involved.
idea, yeah. That's
Rather
a
than
good
be
idea.
really involved with the guild as I was in the past, I wanted to have someone that would be.
So if we wanted to reach out to the Three Rivers Arts Guild, we would reach out to Kathy.
Yes,
Or if
you
Kathy
could
had
do that, yeah.
information to share with
Or
us.
myself, yeah.
Okay.
But we, just, as in my role as president, I'm trying not to like do everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And so having people be the liaisons who can bring that information back to the board without me necessarily having to be involved in all
Yeah.
of the aspects of the.
So, I mean, I'm probably just saying something that everybody already knows, but, so the Arts Commission as an advisory board to the City Commission can't actually partner with the Arts Guild, like
Okay,
going in
yeah.
half on a gallery. That's not so that, basically you're sort of, it's kind of like you're asking the city to go in half on a gallery, which maybe there's somebody on the City Commission that would want to do that, I don't know. But the Arts Commission can't really
Okay.
do that. We're just an advisory board to the city.
Okay.
But, you know, this idea about having an arts center is something that I think we've all talked about on the Arts Commission. I mean, it's something that you know, if we could find a building, if we could convince the city that it's in the best interest of the city, if we could find funding, you know, I think that we share this vision, definitely.
Well, and I think
So-
if that is something that comes to be, that there would certainly be able to be like gallery space in there. And I don't know if it would just be display or if it would actually be a place where people could purchase art. But even just being able to display the art there too would be pretty amazing. And then, you know, people could contact the artists if they did want to purchase some art, I guess, individually. But I could see that being part of an arts center, at least in my mind. I might be wrong, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all like, you know, kind of beating to the same tune here. So, yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm definitely feeling, you know, a lot of connections. So.
Yeah,
terms
and
of
art
thinking.
seems to be really well received in Oregon City, at least, you know, from our standpoint, when we've had shows and stuff. I mean, people just love having it here, so. Anybody else?
I think that what we can, I mean, as an advisory group to the city, what we can do is, you know, continue to work with all arts organizations in Oregon City to promote art. And so if there's anything that we can do as an advisory commission to promote art that benefits everyone, that's kind of, I think, what our role is. And I mean, it sounds like the Three Rivers Arts Guild is really well positioned to help with that goal.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And are you, like, do you have, so when is your Monday, when is it, so you said earlier there was a monthly meeting, when is
It's
that?
the
for
second
people?
Monday of every month.
Second Monday?
And it's in the Pioneer Center
Okay.
basement meeting room.
It's over at the, okay, great.
So anyone's
Is it open to
welcome.
the public?
Yes.
Oh, great, what time is it at?
Right now, we're doing 6:38.
6:38?
We were previously doing 7 to 8:30, but we're trying to get people out before dark.
Oh, great,
It's been
okay.
a huge request from the members, so.
So anybody can
6:30
come
to 8,
if they want to get involved in
Yep.
an organization that's already like doing so much
Yep.
to promote art in our community. Okay, great.
Yep. Anybody else?
Anyone else? Thank you so much, Tamara. Amazing presentation. Thank you so much. Yeah. Next on our agenda is a presentation from the city recorder, Jacob Wiley.
A second to get all set up here. All right, so I think you can all see my presentation now. Is that true? All right. So I just wanted to start off by thanking everybody for inviting me to come and visit. I don't know how familiar you are with the city recorder job, but what I am is the records manager for the city. So I do a lot of just records management stuff. I also am the clerk for the city commission, the urban renewal commission, and I'm the clerk of last resort for other things. So that's what I do. I'd like to say too that my mother was an art teacher and before she retired. And so, art is something I personally really, support and think it's important. So I get started then. So this presentation is going to just kind of sort of talk about advisory committees in general. We'll start off by talking about like what exactly makes it tick. Then sort of Arts Commission's two hats, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, what I mean by that. The roles and responsibilities in policy development, the role of the City Commission versus the role of an advisory committee. Public meeting laws and meeting management itself. So how the chair and how the dynamics of the committee can work. And being a member of a public committee. That sounds like a simple thing, but it's a little bit more complex than you might expect. I try to do an orientation like this with all of our advisory committees, but since the pandemic interfered with a lot of that the last year, and then a transition from old city recorder to new city recorder, has kind of gotten out of kilter. So, welcome. Normally this would have happened in February, And for you, it would have been maybe September when you first got started, so. So what makes a city commission tick? Now, normally my list doesn't start with the US and state constitution, but since your committee often bumps into the First Amendment a little bit here and there, I thought I'd bring it up and put it on the list. But, so the general things that sort of guide what the committee does is the Constitution, Oregon state laws for public meeting. The city charter, of course, is how the whole city is structured. The city code, which is what created the Arts Commission. Board and committee commission's orientation manual. That's something that maybe you haven't seen yet. I don't know anybody's seen it? Maybe on the website? So I can provide that link to you after the meeting if you want to take a look at it. It's pretty lengthy, so don't, take some time if you're going to read the whole thing. There's also bylaws. I don't know if you'd gone through and updated your bylaws.
did.
Perfect.
That was like
So
one
then
of
you
the
have
first
that set in stone, so to say. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is that the advisory committee serves at the pleasure of the city commission. Now, that sounds very put down-ish, but it's not. It's you're there to help the city commission do its job, to guide and implement the city commission's goals. And you also have that specific job of the mural applications, which makes it kind of unique compared to Natural Resources Committee or Transportation Advisory Committee. You actually have a decision that you make. So this is the two hats that I was talking about. The hat number one is the advisory committee hat. So you do policy questions, you shape new programs, you do community engagement, just like inviting the Three Rivers person before. On that same note, you can't independently adopt or create policy. You can work on it, you can refine it, but at the end of the day, it's the city commission is the one that really makes the final decisions on things. So if you all voted to adopt some thing, they would have to go back up to the city commission to actually be enforceable in any way. And that could include selection of city-owned art pieces. So if you were, say, the city commission said, hey, Arts Commission, we want you to recommend art for installing at the new PD Libke building. They would send that to you. You'd go through and make your recommendation, which wouldn't be the final decision. They'd send it, then you'd send your recommendation up to the city commission and they make a decision. Does it make sense? I know a lot of this is super boring, so if you're super bored, just raise your hand and I'll try to do something to be more interesting.
Should have worn a hat.
I should have. I was thinking about it when I was doing this. I was like, I should go find a hat, but I didn't. And then I have to find two hats. So I don't have two hats. We have a Van Gogh hat and a lawyer, boring, businessy hat. So let's start with the first hat, the advisory. Oh, I didn't even talk about the second hat. So okay. The second hat's the quasi-judicial panel. That's more boring, it's more formal, it's black, it's a top hat. You review and make binding decisions regarding mural applications. The higher stakes, there's more legal requirements, as you are probably well aware by now. And decisions apply the current code, and you have no authority to change those rules. Now, if you were to take off that hat and put on the advisory committee hat and wanted to make changes to the way that mural applications are processed, you could do that, but not while you're wearing the top hat. So if you're working on a specific application, you're saying, this criteria is really confusing for me. I wish we didn't have it like this. You can't do that during an application. Wait, take that hat off, wait until they're done with their application, and then you can put the policy hat back on. So, the policy hat. Now this is a really complicated diagram, but I'm really proud of it. But it's probably too complicated. So it's kind of what I've been talking about before. A little too much, but the city commission manages the city manager, and then all of the directors are underneath. And then committees are sort of informally assigned to each sort of director, or in this case, a manager, economic development manager. So the way that works is it's sort of siloed in a way. And that's unfortunate because you can have joint meetings between two advisory committees perhaps, but then you would need to organize that through the director level. So you would say, hey, James, we'd like to have a joint meeting with TAC to talk about art installations in highway or roads or something, maybe painting the pavement, I don't know, something like that. You would say, so James would go to John Lewis, who's our Public Works Director, talk to him and see what they could do. You wouldn't want to go just as yourself and start doing that, or go to a TAC meeting as a group and then you accidentally run into a public meeting issue, as I'll talk about later. So the city commission sets the goals for the whole city every 2 years. Then the city manager works with the directors to sort of build those into actual policies and programs, and those to send down through to you eventually. So James will work really hard on some arts-related issue or program. They'll come to you. They'll work on it, like I was talking about before, with referring maybe an art exhibit in City Hall or something. So then your input and refinement goes back up the chain. And that's how generally it would work. You guys have any questions so far? I know it's pretty basic. Yeah.
What is TAC?
TAC is the Transportation Advisory Committee. So they do a lot of like transportation plans and traffic stuff. Speed bumps, I think, probably come up regularly, that kind of thing. And
The one that's cut off.
the one that's cut off is community.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
that's fine. So the bottom there is to represent that you're the closest input we have to the community, other than the community itself. So you kind of are, select community members. So like if we have some question we really want to get engagement with and people don't have time to go to the city commission meetings, they come to you and say, hey, you are our perfect citizens to ask for this question. Are there any other questions before I move on? No. Sure. Yeah. You can ask them in between, at the end, in the middle, whenever you want. So I think we've kind of talked about this stuff. I do have like a little circle there, which was kind of what I had described earlier. The city commission creates the goals, staff carries out the policy, develops draft policies. They'll bring them to you, you refer, look at what you want to do with that, then it kind of goes back up. So what do you think the role of the Arts Commission is? We've got the two things that I mentioned. Is there any other ones you can think of?
I think that the Arts Commission is here to promote the arts in Oregon City and like all of the amazing ways that we can think of.
Yeah.
So, I think that we do more than just provide advice to the city commission. I think that we're sort of a creative lab for trying out ideas, thinking, well, what if we tried this idea? What if we tried that idea? And, we kind of workshop ideas through our conversations and try to imagine how the arts could be more of a resilient, product of a community.
Yeah, absolutely. Creating partnerships and kind of working on new ideas. The one thing I would bring up is that you don't want to get too far off on your own if, say, there's some idea that you're really, really passionate about as a group, but the city commission's just not interested. You don't want to spend too much energy and time and staff are, having to help
Right.
support that.
But on the other hand, getting a bunch of artists together to talk about ideas
Absolutely.
is like so valuable to this
Yep.
community.
Absolutely. So I don't mean to say no to anything. That's what I don't mean that.
And one idea that I've talked to, I think even with Emma also, is that if from the commission, we had no more, a maximum of 2 people, so it didn't count as a meeting. But then if we went to an event, can the whole commission or more than 2 people on the commission volunteer for an art event that's being held outside of the city? Is that allowed?
Yes, so I'll get to that in
Okay.
a little bit later. But yes, that's fine. There is a little caveat, but. So according to the city code, this is the official word, and I'm sure you've all read it, so I won't bore you with reading it again. But this is what the role, the city's code says is your role. And number 5 sounds a lot like what Commissioner Lugo brought up. A little bit of number 4 too.
What is that painting?
So I don't
That
actually
looks
know.
Rococo.
I didn't look up the names,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Sorry.
But what I brought up, the pictures are somewhat related because it's sort of like the guiding principles for the Arts Commission. It's sort of like the rule of thirds and the art color theory.
Oh, you're doing roll thirds, okay.
Yeah, I got
So,
you.
see where I'm going?
Yeah.
The painting can be anything you want it to be, but it generally falls into these sort of
Right.
categories and rules.
You gotta use the rules of third, three.
I was looking at other composition things earlier, and I didn't realize they were so complicated. But I found a rule of thirds because I know that one.
Yeah. So I have a question. You can address it later if it's better addressed later. But in number 3, and just in general, so we talked about we have binding decision making or whatever related to murals. But in number 3, it's describing public art. And I'm wondering what our role would be for non-mural public art.
So I guess your role would be a little bit less constrained, like in the sense of like mural applications, right? So it's when it's public art, it's treated differently. So you can be more, you have a freer hand, if that makes sense.
I'm just wondering if we would have the ability to make choices, or if we would have the role of recommendations that would then go up the chain.
So if they're, say, like in the budget for the city commissions, you know, because the budget and the goals are kind of tied together.
Yep.
Say if the budget allocated some amount of money to art installations, then it went through James and they said, oh, well, we're thinking, maybe, and the commission maybe mentioned during the budget that they wanted a specific kind of thing somewhere. James would bring that to you and you'd start working on that aspect of it. But again, like signing the final contract for purchase, if it's within James's signing authority, I suppose he could pay for it himself. But generally, not
Thanks. Great. I look forward to that.
no, but what I mean is
So
maybe
generous.
if you're spending like $100,000 on some fabulous art thing, it would have to go to the city commission because its contract goes up to that amount.
If it was something that was within our budget that we were prioritizing, within the Arts Commission budget, would that change the process?
I'd have to look at that a little bit more, and maybe how the budget was allocated, and it specifically maybe it's possible that you might be able to make that final choice, but again, the default answer would be no.
Let me make a clarification, no.
Okay.
The budget that you have, if you decide to, the city commission might say, we want to buy a piece of art. And we want, since you have a budget, we want to use your money to do it. And they could do that, request you to buy a piece of art. If you saw a piece of art and you want to commission a piece of art, you have to go to the city commission for that request. The bottom line is they approve all money expenditures. That's the final. They would approve all money expenditures.
I was actually thinking less about the money part, although that's interesting that you guys chose that. I was thinking more about the art part.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, we get to look at the mural and see the content, and is it going to be appropriate for, the building, and is it, appropriately made, like that side, as opposed to like, I get that the funding and purchasing always has to be.
Yeah.
I
guess that's
was
what-
thinking more on the art side.
But if it's a public building, you can do that.
Right, and there's the public building, and then
Yeah.
there's non-public, and then there would be differences there.
Right. Yeah, so
So there's a depth to the
those are
question
different
there.
questions. So the picking out what you want on the building, that's much more flexible and much more in your court, if that makes sense. But when it comes down to it, approving something is buying it. So
Right, yeah, I got that part.
So saying like, hey, we really like this draft mural concept, that's fine. But when it comes to actually signing the contract with the artist, that's when it gets a little bit hairier, where it would have to go up.
And also in line with the public art, Who is responsible for the upkeep? I think we probably have a list of like 30 or more pieces of art throughout the city. Who keeps an eye to see what's damaged, what needs upkeeping, who's responsible for that? Like, we know of 2 sculptures right now that are damaged. Is that our responsibility as the commission to look after them, or is that the city facilities?
I would,
It's Public Works.
yeah, it would be Public Works for specifically, I think, of the statues that were hit by the car. Yeah, that would be a Public Works.
And
I
there's
think-
one on Liberty Square that's just damaged by, I think, wear and tear. And
Yeah,
Now, the budget, from what I understand, the city will tell us what our budget is. Is that correct? Or can we present a budget to them for approval?
they will,
We have a budget.
yeah, they would,
Figured out how to spend it yet.
it would have been something that would have been just discussed during the adoption of the budget. So it's already put together, if that makes sense. The next budget, of course, that could change, but
And how about with the upkeep of anything that's damaged of those art pieces, does that come out of the Art Commission budget or that come out of the city?
I'm actually not familiar with that
It's
level.
insured, in that all the art in the city is insured. It would be, it would come out of the insurance policy. So
Yeah.
that's what's being handled with this broken piece of art on the corner. The insurance policy would pay for its replacement. In
I
terms
just
of,
can't figure out how to explain.
I think you're the only commission that has money.
This is how we would
Actually, and because I asked the commission to, in our economic development strategic plan, I asked the commission to provide this body with money. And so therefore, you're the only one that has it.
And is there anything we should
sorry
put
if I
in?
had my
I'm
hand up
sorry.
for a while.
Emma, yes, please, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. So I have a couple of questions from the city code here. Maybe I should have been familiar with this before, but I haven't seen it. And it looks like we have a lot of things we can do. I mean, when I look at this, it says that, for instance, one of the things it says that we can do education and demonstration. And I was wondering if you could explain, what does that mean? I mean, can we hold public education events? Can we do arts demonstration? I mean, that's what the city code says we can do. It also says that we can do planning and executing of visual and performing arts with other local, regional, and national organizations for the benefit and preservation of artistic values. So that kind of means we can reach out to other arts organizations and plan things, you know. And it also says that we can identify groups and organizations that enrich Oregon city life by bringing cultural and artistic values and artifacts to the city. So, I mean, these are a bunch of things we can do. Is this a to-do list that for the Arts Commission to kind of pursue?
I think of it more as like guidelines on what your purpose is. So it's not like,
Well, yeah, but I mean, can we do these things? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
And actually, Commissioner Lugo, we are actually going to be addressing that later in the staff report, the program development recommendations. And we use those recommendations as kind of a way to help you understand the question that you just asked. That here's a couple things that we thought of. What could you as an organization?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things I can think of. I'm just wondering if the city's code says the Arts Commission can do these things, then my question is, can we do these things?
Well, let me provide some clarification. These are, you are, first of all, you are a government. You are a government or arm of the government. So these items that you see, that you've just read, are broad guidelines. The devil is always in the details.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's pretty specific. Like to say, it says that we can do, what was it again? We can do education and demonstration.
Yes, now, let's take that one as an example.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let's take that one. So you could actually hire someone to do that.
We can hire someone to do that.
You can hire someone to do that, or you can put out an RFP, and someone could address that RFP and say, we'll do that on your behalf. But you as a body cannot do that because that requires decision-making, and more than two of you, more than three of you, that's a public meeting. So you really can't really get involved in decision-making without being under the public eye. So you can hire someone to,
Are you sure about that, James? I mean, because it says that we can do that. It says the commission can promote the arts
but you
through
are doing it.
education demonstration. So how,
But
I
you
mean,
are-
how would we do
you are do-
that if,
You are doing it by working through, you're hiring someone to do it for you. That's what you're doing. But
Okay.
the city commission itself would not do that either.
why wouldn't we do it though? Can you
But
explain to
because
me
it
why
would
we
be,
wouldn't do it?
it would be,
I mean, if we were doing it for free, let's say we were doing arts education for free,
you can hire someone to do that on your behalf,
right?
but you cannot do it yourself.
Okay, why not? Because it says that we can do that.
Because if
here.
you did it yourself, then you would be abridging, what you call, public.
The public meeting law?
Your public meeting law.
Okay, but why does it say we can do it then?
Well, that's what I said, it's a broad, it's, once again, the devil is in the details.
Okay, but I mean, that kind of tells me that we can't do it, but it says that we can do it.
There's always a way to do something. But I'm just offering you a way that you can do it. You can't do it yourself.
Okay, I guess I don't understand why we couldn't do, for instance, arts education.
You can do it
If we wanted to do it for free, if we don't want to hire someone, so we don't want to spend any of the city's money.
Well, you can
Like
still.
what if we wanted to do demonstration on how to do spinning wool, for example, and say we wanted to, educate the community on spinning wool? Is that something that we could do?
When you say something we can do, are you saying the entire commission can do?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's the we that's
Maybe.
confusing things.
Yeah, maybe.
If Emma wanted to do that,
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, if Emma wanted to do that, she could do that on behalf of Emma.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know I can do that on behalf of me. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it says that the Arts Commission,
And that you can do that on behalf of the commission if the commission votes allow you to do that.
And
okay.
could you do it with no more than 2 people from the commission and still say, this event or activity is supported by the Oregon City Art Commission, but have no more than 2 members, so you're not constituting?
yeah, it's in the we. That's the confusing
That's the
part.
we, it's the we part.
If you said I or two,
and if there was no money involved, would it be,
The money doesn't have any, I mean, well, first of all, if there's no money involved, that's true.
Okay.
But it's still 2. And
right, right.
two or less.
And if the commission itself voted for you to represent them in that duty, then that's, but you just can't go out and say, I'm doing this on behalf of the commission and no
Well,
one
yeah, no,
approved
I
it.
never said that.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm just giving you that
Okay.
oversight.
All right,
And
this
I
looks
will
like a
get to the
really
public
important-
meeting
sorry.
stuff later, and we
Yeah,
can talk
but
about that a
this-
little bit more.
This is really like, I feel like this is something that I need. Can I get a copy of this?
Can you send this to all
City,
of us?
can you
This is
send me
wonderful.
this right here, according to city code, the role of the Arts Commission? I'd really like to get a copy of that.
I
Thank
can
you.
make sure you all have that.
Great, thanks so much.
Is there a place where we could spell this out in a little more detail that outlined it in the way that we just talked about it? Some place that would be for us and our use. I don't know if it'd be appropriate in just a general side addendum, non-official, like if it's one or fewer persons, just separating the I and the we and like the activity versus the paying somebody to really spell it out so that we don't have this confusion as commissioners come and go.
Could we put in the bylaws? Could
I
we
was
get some
thinking
more
that, but I wasn't
clarification
sure
in
if
the
that was
bylaws
appropriate.
around it?
You could put it in your bylaws
As long as it doesn't conflict, if we word it in a way that is consistent with this.
as program activities or something like that. You could do that kind of thing, but there's a general rule, and no matter what, and no more than 2.
Right.
And the
Just-
commission
yep.
itself has to vote to allow anyone
Yep,
to.
just spell that
we
out,
can-
so it's
we can have more
plain and clear for all of us.
It's just a general rule.
Can I move that we then add that to our bylaws in the future and come up with wording? You gotta say,
Oh, yeah. I would be happy to see a draft of this added to our bylaws with some additional clarification language about what we talked about today. So I would motion for that.
or second, well, we're motioning and seconding each other, I think.
I think the way we would do this is somebody would actually write the draft.
Yeah.
And then request that be added to the agenda of the next meeting.
Right.
I think everyone's
So
asking,
that was, the motion was that we see a draft of the updated bylaws with this language included and the clarification that we talked about in this meeting. And then we look at that draft at the next meeting
Yeah.
to approve.
Well,
Let me jump in. You don't actually need to do a motion on that.
Right, that's what I was
You can just say like, hey, James, can we work on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
at some point? Right. You don't need to formally do a vote like
I think
that.
I was just trying to get everybody to agree to so before we put
Yeah,
the
it's a
energy
great
into
idea.
it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You just
Great
kind of do
idea.
an informal nod around the room. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, that consensus is a method of approving things.
Okay, so I'll withdraw the motion.
Well,
And the minutes.
Motion withdrawn.
And I'll get to that in a little bit too, with like what you want to talk about in a meeting and vote on versus what you want to just kind of say like, hey, James, can we talk about that at some point later on? There's some actual notice issues with that for public meeting. So I'll get to that. It's all juicy stuff and we're going to get there, I swear. We don't get too far ahead.
help me remember that, you guys. We'll talk about it later.
I have slides.
Table it.
With pictures. So the quasi judicial panel, got to our second hat. I'm going to defer to James and Daniel on all that much more technical stuff about the mural applications. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do know you want to put on a separate hat. Think of it that way. You're putting on a separate hat. So now the rest of this apply to both hats. So the
Very
Oregon Public
organized.
So the public meeting laws require notice for all the meetings. And the notice includes the principal subjects for discussion. That's what I was jumping in about that motion. So we hadn't actually noticed the discussion of what we want to do with our bylaws next time. If we want to do that and have that discussion, you want to make sure the public's aware that you're going to. So any kind of principal, juicy, big subject, you want to have that in your notice for the meeting. And if you don't have it in your notice for the meeting, you kind of want to just sort of pause it and wait for later. Now, the law does say that you can bring up things that weren't on the agenda if they came up too soon for you to have posted it. So say the notice for this meeting was posted last week, and then yesterday some important thing came up, like the statue was hit by a truck, and you wanted to talk about that at the meeting. That's okay, because it happened yesterday before the agenda, didn't have time. But if it's something like brand new over here and you hadn't noticed it, it's not really fair to the public because they weren't able to come in and talk and present and see what's going on. So you kind of want to, I know government's slow and this slows things down, but you might have to wait for the next meeting to actually talk about it. Yeah.
Who at the city is making these public notices for our meetings? Where and how are you making these notices?
So we use a program that allows us to develop the agenda called Municode. And then what happens is that as we finalize the agenda and we get all of the packet put together that you have in your hands here, then what happens is that it generates a packet, and that the agenda itself is then forwarded to our, what do we call them? I'm sorry,
A posting group.
posting group. And so that goes out to all the city offices that have a bulletin board, the library. It goes out to,
There's one here, one at
Yeah.
the library, Pioneer Center. I think that's it.
and so.
That's a
Is
physical.
it shared on social media as well? I know I see city commission meeting notices, but I do not see
So
arts commission meeting
Kristen will
notices.
sometimes do the city commission meetings, but those are not typically shared on social media. But they are, there's an email list that Daniel keeps of people that have voiced interest in receiving them, and anyone can be on that list, including news media if they want. And that way they receive them the instant they're posted.
Okay.
At the moment, because of the organization being new or renew, that list is just pretty much small, so.
But I'm
I
on
mean,
that
have
list.
we ever had any public at any meeting? I can't think
We had a public person at the last meeting.
of, okay.
Yeah, she had a vested interest in the mural, and so
Oh,
she
right, yeah.
She
attended.
was a
But I
former
mean-
member
But
too.
no, we have
Just
not.
like the public, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the public like ever has watched anything we've done or?
I would have to probably ask the Willamette Falls Television to see if they have some kind of numbers that might be able to help us answer that question.
Okay.
But we can be sharing, if you provide us maybe with links and whatever for
Yeah.
signing up, we can share that with.
So when I finalize it and I send you everyone the packet, I actually send it to a whole lot of people, including the city commissioners. So they also get it. The city administrator gets it. So that I just blind copy everyone so that we don't break rules about starting a conversation on an email.
Which is what we're going to talk about. I didn't want to cut you off, though, if you had more questions or anything.
How do we get on that list, that email list? How
Well,
does
you're
the
already on
public,
it.
how does the public get on that email
They would
list?
just need to send an email to someone in the city. Usually they would then forward it to me. Or you can just have them send it
That
to me.
seems like a difficult process, though. I mean, is there a special way just to sign up for a newsletter or something like that?
That's a,
Well, they can actually, well, there's a couple of things that should be done. Really, at some point, we need to discuss about how to promote the Arts Commission. Actively promote it, because right now as it exists, it's a very passive promotion, but it needs to be promoted in an active way. But to answer your question, people can go to the website, the city's website, and request to be included on the list. But I think the solution is an active marketing and promotion of the Arts Commission.
And is that something that would be our responsibility, or is that something the city would do for us? I mean, I know that the page that we have on the city website needs to be updated. It'd be great to notify Pamplin Press, which I've already talked to Raymond Rendelman about getting some publicity for us. But is that something we should be going after ourselves? Do we leave that up to the city to do?
You can do it as individuals, spread the word amongst your colleagues and friends. But in terms of a very active marketing campaign, that's something the city would do for you.
So how does the Arts Commission, accomplish things with these rules about public notice? There's been a problem, I feel like, ever since the Arts Commission started, in terms of we can't just get together and talk and figure out what do we want to do? How do we want to do things? And I understand that the public meeting rules are here for certain reasons, but at the same time, there's also there's a way in which they're so burdensome that they really, there's no public here. There's never been a city commissioner that's ever come to any of our meetings. The mayor's never come. And so it just seems kind of strange to have rules that basically limit our ability to problem solve and to figure out how to achieve our mission, which is to promote the arts in Oregon City. If the only time that we get together is here when we're all sitting around like this, how are we supposed to promote the arts?
It's unfortunate that the rules are written the way they are.
Yeah.
It is clunky, and it's easy to
but
get
is there
trapped.
a way that we can, within the context of how the rules exist, say for instance, I know that's something that at least some of us have talked about, is we'd love to see an arts center here in Oregon City. We'd
Yeah.
love to do the work, the really serious, heavy work of trying to, get that going and figure out identifying a building, trying to find sources of funding, getting support from the city commission, getting buy-in from the community. How do we do that if we can't meet and talk about it and plan? Because that's that would fulfill our mission as an arts commission. To bring a plan to the city commission that would be oh, here's a great plan for an arts center. It's something that that the previous speaker was talking about. How do we work within the context, within the rules? And also promote the arts, say with that example, for instance.
Can I actually say something on that line?
Yeah, sure.
And James and Danny, if you want to go against my thoughts, feel free. But it seems to me, in my experience of working with these kind of complicated guidelines and rules and rails and different things that we bump into, I feel like the best way for us as a commission to move forward is to really, really get to know the system, get to know it really well, all the ins and outs, all the paths that we have to take, all the rules, and the better that we understand the system, the better that we're going to be able to do and execute all of the amazing work we want to do. We just have to learn the system really well. And we have to dig into the city website, and we have to read all of that orientation pamphlet and read all of those things and really understand them. And if we can do that, we can function really well.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
in my opinion.
Well, so, but my question is still like, how do we do that within the?
We do our research and we read
Well,
and
yeah,
we
yeah,
learn the
but
rules.
I'm asking the city.
You know, and I have a comment for that. I think one thing I'm thinking of is, I mean, we're just starting our infrastructure. Once we decide on something, say it's the Art Community Center, can we, in a meeting like this, have people volunteer? Well, I'll do that part. I'll look at the buildings. I'll find out from the county what buildings are vacant. And then on the next meeting, as we get together, everybody give their feedback so that we're out there and being active one-on-one with the community, but then we meet as a group so that it keeps growing. I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, you can assign work to individual arts commissioners, absolutely, and have them work on something and come back. You actually become a little bit more in trouble possibly if you have more than one person working together with another one. So like if you have like two people,
More than two.
3, 4, then it gets bad. The worse, the more people, the worse.
No more than two.
And the more potential you have for issues. But if you have just like one person say, hey, will you go and look at the old Public Works building or something and take a look at it, that's fine. And then come back and tell us what you think. That's
Are you
completely
comfortable
okay.
with that, Emma?
Sort of, but then we as a commission can work on a project as a commission. I mean,
So that would be
because
something-
otherwise, how do we?
Really,
ever
the
do
key,
anything?
the public meeting law doesn't stop you from doing anything. It just
Okay.
means that you have to put it in your agenda before you do it.
Great, yeah, that's what I'm kind of
That's
wondering. All right, thanks.
So you just want to make sure that the public's aware that you want to talk about an arts center or anything else. It's just making sure that everyone knows you're going to talk about it. So in case there's somebody that's really maybe out there that wants to help,
Right.
in the community,
Oh, yeah.
they know it's there,
Okay.
that it's happening. Otherwise, you'll have sort of the situation you have now where nobody shows up because they don't know what's going on.
All right, thank
So it's actually helpful.
Okay,
You can
great.
gear it towards your benefit.
Great.
And then you have all the listserv that Daniel sets up. You've got our website that posts it on there. It gets distributed to the city commissioners, so they're all of a sudden, I don't know if they read them or not because they get a lot of emails, but if they look at it, they'll see, oh, the Arts Commission's working on this. And that's why they receive it, so that everybody can know what's going on. That's a good thing.
Okay, great. Thanks.
The next thing is public meetings have to be open to the public. That's kind of the same obvious thing we talked about. It's really interesting now with hybrid meetings. You notice we're running a Zoom at the same time. That's a new requirement in Oregon law. We have to offer some sort of a remote participation option. So public comment and listening to the meeting has to be somehow remote available. And minutes have to be created for each meeting. So that's something that, Daniel works very hard at, keeps up with it, and then you approve them.
Can I just pause? Can we make sure that our online people are getting seen if they have any questions? Because I can't see them, so I can't see if
Yeah,
they're
I have
reacting
to
or
pull it out of the way because unfortunately with their little picture, it kind of.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if they wanted to add anything or say anything that somebody could see them.
Let me
I can see them, but
let me get to the chat
any-
here.
Can we just check in?
And they can unmute.
Yeah, nobody has anything at
Okay.
this time.
All right, speak up if you guys have anything you want to, okay.
And actually, Commissioner Jones, you might want to unmute your, especially during this one, because you have the ability, if you want to, the ability to talk or chime in at any time, and we will adjust so that you know that it's possible.
and I can see too, if you're raising your hands on my computer, it looks different than the one that is on the screen. So this is a lot of text. I am not going to read through it all, but it's the definitions from the ORSs. And this is where you can kind of get tripped up, especially if you were talking about sending groups of people to go look at stuff. So technically, if you read that first one there, which I just said I wouldn't do, at the bottom there it says subcommittee. So if you create a subcommittee and say, I want this special arts center subcommittee group, you've accidentally created another public body that requires notice and requires minutes and requires everything else that you require as the Arts Commission. So one thing you want to avoid is actually creating an official subcommittee. Now, if two of you went to go look at something, that is not a quorum of the Arts Commission, so you're okay. If you say the subcommittee of Arts Center needs to go do this, now you've created a quorum of the Arts Center subcommittee. Don't do that. just remain the Arts Commission. And if you start delegating to separate bodies, you've created separate bodies. And then then Daniel has to make more minutes, and that makes Daniel sad because you have more work to do. But these other ones, a meeting, it's what you'd expect. One thing I italicized there is deliberate towards a decision on any matter. Now that'll come up in just a second. Deliberating on something counts as a meeting if there's a quorum.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Sorry. It said the meeting does not include any on-site inspection of any project or program. So, for example, if they were at the First City Celebration, had a vendor table or something, that is not an issue with.
Yes, that is what the
Unless they're
statute
deliberating.
says. Yes,
They're
because you're not
deliberating at the vendor
deliberating.
table.
So it does actually get a little fuzzy, and the Attorney General's meeting manual is what I would refer you to. There's been some Court of Appeals stuff on that where people attend, like, it gets really fuzzy. So the recommendation is if you do go to some event or something, just don't discuss any business of the Arts Commission there. Then you're safe.
Can I do a weird example?
Sure.
So let's say we wanted to go view an artwork by an artist to have some idea of what their work was like. We could go and look at it as long as we didn't share any opinions or thoughts about it while we were on the
No,
site.
you can talk about the artwork itself.
Well, if the artwork decision was deliberating about a choice that we were pending to make, then we couldn't,
No.
right?
Yeah, if it was related to something that the Arts Commission was going to do, don't discuss
Yeah,
it.
so we could look at it.
Yeah,
And we could inspect it.
yeah.
But we couldn't deliberate about the art or the artwork or the artist. But we could
And you can
view
talk about
it.
your weekend.
We could go to the gallery or the studio and inspect, but we couldn't make any deliberations or choices
No.
about that artist or their work.
No.
We would then take that back to the meeting where we would then discuss what we saw at our inspection of their artist studio gallery
Yeah.
work.
It's
Does that make
clunky.
sense to you guys?
It's clunky.
Cool.
Or
And I have kind of a real life example too. I've asked Mary Andrews to help me with an art project that we're doing for the First City Celebration. We are even going to discuss it at this end of this meeting, that we possibly, if the city can't fund it, is it possible to fund it through the Art Commission because it is a city project? So how does that work with Mary and myself working together on this art project? It's a community mural. Is that all allowable?
So the easiest, safest thing to do would be to have that discussion here or at a noticed meeting. So I don't want to get into the details of exactly what, because I don't know all the details, but the best, easiest, safest thing to do would just talk about it here, put it on the agenda, and then you can have a 5 or 10 minute discussion every month or so about it.
So then it's fine. It's all
Then you're
documented.
fine. Just make sure it's on the agenda. I wanted to get back to what you had mentioned before, going on an on-site tour. The other thing you could do, if you wanted to talk about it, is just notice it as a meeting.
Yeah.
And the meeting location happens to be at that, at the studio or whatever. So you just notice it, and then people could go there and watch you discuss
Jacob,
it.
does that mean that staff have to attend that then?
It would be, yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
And you have to broadcast it.
Or we can just do, sure.
Yeah, would we have to broadcast that?
So the rule is you have to have remote attendance,
Oh, yeah.
right?
So we won't do that.
And you'd have to have minutes.
And then we'd have to.
At
You can
least,
just
at
put
least
that
if
camera on
we
a hat.
want to keep jump on Daniel's good side. We won't do that.
So there's a rule that you do have to have remote attendance for all public meetings?
Yeah, that's a new rule. Didn't
Oh,
used to be
okay.
like that. But yeah, now you are required to have some form of remote attendance at all public meetings of a public body. Yeah.
Okay.
Some electronic format. Now, it could be a telephone where they just listen, like a conference phone. This would technically be enough.
Okay.
But we're going far and away and above with our broadcasting
Yeah.
cameras and
right.
streaming. So
Okay, great.
telephone is enough. Streaming is ideal.
Yeah, thank you.
But I just would like to say at this time that we have a few more things on the agenda.
Yes.
And I love this discussion, but I think we need to keep it rolling.
Sure.
How much more time do you feel you'll need?
I would say maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I could get through it, but the
This is
question.
important. I think
I
you
know.
should take the
It's
time
good
you
stuff.
need.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Here's the pitfalls that I wanted to bring up. So emails, you can accidentally have a meeting by email. And that's why Daniel BCCs all of the agendas to everyone. Because say if one of you replied to Daniel and you hit reply all, you would have replied to all of the Arts Commission about saying, hey, what happened to the thing that I asked for? Or, oh, I didn't know this was coming up. Can you tell me more about it? And then if someone else replied to it and then someone else replied to it, pretty soon you've had a meeting on an email list. And nobody got to listen to your email because you didn't email everyone on the planet when you did that. So that's where you can get into trouble. The other issue you can have is a serial meeting, and you can have a combined serial meeting with an email meeting, which is what I was just talking about. A serial meeting is where one person goes to each member of the Arts Commission and asks their opinion on something. As soon as you've done that, you've had a meeting because you've all discussed something. You've deliberated towards a decision on something.
This was new to me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I discussed this with Daniel.
This was brand new to me.
It's a little tough. The easiest way to get around all of these issues is to direct all of your communication amongst yourselves through Daniel. That way he can prevent any issues and you don't accidentally do it yourself. So just whenever you see the 2 line and it has all the arts commissioners on it, I want you to stop and replace that with Daniel and say, Daniel, could you please let everyone know XYZ?
So on that serial meeting, though, deliberation towards a decision, what if we're not talking about any decisions, we're just giving general ideas,
That is deliberation.
but it's not towards a decision, right? It's just,
If you're chatting about your weekend, that's fine. But if you're talking about anything that has to related to the Arts Commission, you're deliberating towards a decision.
Okay.
Or it might not be a decision now that you don't think it will be. You don't think it's going to happen. But then 6 months later, it does. Then you have been deliberating towards a decision.
But I mean, for a body to work together and actually accomplish something, there has to be some communication. I mean, otherwise, you don't know the members of your commission, you don't know their personality styles. So like, what if you wanted to go to each commissioner and just get to know them, get to know their work?
That would be fine.
So.
That's fine.
okay.
As long as you don't discuss Arts Commission related stuff.
If there's
if you
more
want-
than 2.
Yeah, and technically it's anything less than a quorum is okay. So it could
Right,
be,
so if you take it individually, you can invite us out to dinner and we can talk about commission all night. But if you invited 2 of us out to dinner, we could not talk about commission at all.
So we can do it can I just confirm that we can do it one-on-one? No more than 2 people?
Getting to know
I
each
would
other
say
and stuff.
you can, but I would really say you shouldn't. Because then if, say, the next day, say you 2 had lunch, then you talk to Tammy, and then Tammy talked to me, and then all of a sudden you've got a serial meeting. So I would just say if you want to talk about Arts Commission related anything, it needs to be in this room.
Okay.
It is a
I mean,
little
so we
clunky.
kind of could on a more of a, like, what I think you were talking about, Emma, like a get to know you, like,
Yeah.
I just want to chat with my fellow commissioner.
Yeah, if you're
you
chatting
know.
about your weekend, that's fine.
Well, just so I know who I'm working with and what their work styles are, you know.
That's completely okay.
Maybe, well, what if I met with them and I learned, oh, this person has got really good ins on the sculpture community, this person has got really good ins on, you know, like, so it's not exactly related to Arts Commission work, but it's like, I'm getting to kind of know like what their, you know, CV is really.
I mean, that sounds fine,
how
but
it
it's
might
gonna be a
benefit the
judgment
Arts
call,
Commission.
right? If you start feeling uncomfortable, like, well, this is getting really close to, that Arts Center discussion, because we were talking about what art we wanted in front of the Arts Center, and we're talking about sculptures, and I'm starting to feel like we're talking about the Arts Center, then if you start getting that little feeling,
Yeah.
then steer away from that. And say
Seems like
hey,
an excessive burden to a commission actually accomplishing anything.
the spirit of the public meeting law is not to interfere with the working, which is, I think, it sounds like what your frustration is that it's
yeah.
like, it's interfering, it's
It
so
really is.
complicated
It
and
really
hard.
is, yeah.
The point is that we don't want any backdoor stuff.
Right, I
Right?
understand that.
That's and it might seem like it's trying to make it too hard to work with, but really the point is that they don't want anything hidden in a democracy,
I
right?
understand.
And we're starting to get down into that sort of level of, these rules apply to us at the Arts Commission. They also apply to Department of Revenue.
Yeah.
And we don't want people talking in backdoor, smoky rooms.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand, except like we don't have any money, we don't have any power, we don't really do anything much.
Unfortunately.
Except for murals, we do the heck out of the murals.
And we almost voted the bylaws, but then we
Like,
changed
I mean, there's got to be some wiggle room somewhere for a group to actually,
I think it sounds, you have to understand that you are a government, and unfortunately, government has limitations.
yeah.
And the reason why the history behind these laws is because of the public's distrust of government. And that's just the way it is. Now, you cannot operate like you're a 501c3, or you can't operate like you're a community organization. That's not your role. Your role is really to guide policy. Your role is really to encourage and to incite engagement in a kind of a long-handed, long-spooned way. But if any of you want to get involved in certain things, you, of course, like we said before, you can speak on behalf of the Arts Commission if there was a vote taken and people said, we would like you to do that. But you are one body, although there's several of you here, you are one body, and your body is government.
Yeah, and that's a good answer.
Jacob, you missed the last one.
Did I?
Yeah, social gatherings.
Oh, I thought we talked about it enough to move on. But yes, so social gatherings are fine. So if you're all going to an arts fair, you all end up there, whether you planned it or not, that's fine. Just don't discuss any city business. That's the easiest way to get around it all the time. And that's what the Attorney General's recommended. It's just, some of the cases say, like, you can generally talk about the city stuff, but I would recommend just avoiding it entirely, and so you never have to worry about it. We'll get to it a little bit later, but there's reasons to follow these rules. Violations of public meeting law have some teeth. Anyone affected by the decision can claim a violation. If they go to court, they could void a decision made by the body, whether that decision that was made inappropriately. So say too many of you talked about the statue you wanted to pick in front of the Arts Center, and you accidentally picked it, and it went down the road, and another artist was upset because theirs wasn't picked. They can take you to court, or take the city to court, void the decision that was made. The court could order compliance with public meeting law at that point, and if you continued to violate it, then it would be contempt of court. The city would be liable, and also paying for the attorney's fees for the opposite side. So it can get very expensive very quick. If you're willfully doing so, you can be personally liable. So I would just want to make you all know that if you willfully violate public meeting law, you can be personally liable for all the things I just said. So it'd be very expensive for you as a person. Aggravating factors is conflicts of interest. Like we had, I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but say you are also the beneficiary of the statue, say they were buying your statue, now you're extra in trouble. So meeting management, we'll move on to lighter subjects.
Sounds like one of my meetings.
Effectively managing meetings. So the role of the chair is there isn't really any special powers attached to being the chair. You need to ensure that each group of the Arts Commission has the opportunity to speak, keep the committee on task, and you've been doing a great job at that. Thank you. Efficiently move through agenda, maintain decorum. So that is a fancy word for if things get out of hand, jump in and stop it. Members should remember to show respect, be professional, avoid personal attacks, and respect the vote of the body even when you disagree. If a battle breaks out among commissioners, your job is to bang the gavel and stop them.
That's why we have a.
It's to make loud noise, assert your dominance. The
hit
role of the
anybody
vice
with it.
chair just serves as the chair if the chair is absent. That's,
Or also arguing loudly in the group.
yes, also that. Especially if there's multiple different discussions going on, and so poor Daniel over here can't manage when he goes back later and tries to listen to the recording and can't make sense of it. Bang the gavel, please. So,
Okay.
to help poor Daniel. Effectively managing meetings. So this is how to make a motion. You've already shown that you're very good at this, so I'll kind of be quick about it. There's discussion, motion, second. Further debate, optional. You can just move straight to vote if you want. The chair restates the motion if somebody is lost and confused and doesn't understand. So if anybody says like, hey, I don't actually know what we're voting on, you can say, hey, chair, could you restate that motion for us? And then Daniel will also like that because then he can write it correctly in the minutes. And then you vote. Other common issues that can come up or common like Robert's Rules things. Points of order are if one of you disagrees with the calling of the chair. Say someone the chair does not say something about a curse word or a personal attack. And say like, hey, point of order, I don't think Commissioner over here should say that about someone. And then the chair can say, yeah, I agree. Point well taken is the official phrase. And then we'll say, yes, please refrain from personal attacks. Cool. And it's resolved as a group vote if it's unclear. So if it's like, I'm not really sure if that counts as a personal attack, you can say like motion to recognize that as a personal attack, second vote, and then it's kind of like overriding the chair. Here's my personal pet peeve. Often people will say motion to, or say call the question after they've had discussion and there's been a motion in a second. It's technically a motion. And so I just like to bring it up as that's a special phrase that triggers a vote. And if 2/3 of it passed, then it closes discussion. And that's that debate. That's that second portion after there's been a motion in a second. I bring it up because it's a technical thing and people use that word a little bit loose. So they don't mean that. They just mean, hey, can we actually like record the vote? If you say call the question, that actually is the whole thing. Appeal, that's how you appeal the decision of the chair. Like I mentioned before, the chair doesn't have a whole lot of power herself. So if you don't like the decision that the chair made, say the chair said, we're actually going to skip this item today because I don't feel like it. And you're like, wait a minute, appeal, I want to do that item. Then you would vote, motion in a second, and it overrides the chair. So I'd bring that up just for everyone's knowledge. Nothing specific. You're doing a great job. So voting, roll call style, I've heard you already do one today. That's acclamation, or roll call, excuse me. That's where you go around and record each person's vote. Acclamation style is where you say all in favor say aye. You must ask for the nays or the vote is invalid, and ask for abstentions. If there is an issue with that acclamation and somebody feels as though, any of you feels as though that wasn't accurate, that they passed or didn't pass, you can ask for it to be under roll call vote, and then you actually have the recorded vote. Under Oregon law, you're supposed to record every vote that's taken, so that's why I was bringing up the consent option, because every vote must be recorded in the minutes. So if you vote a lot, that's a lot of votes to record in the minutes. But something like, hey, will you bring this up later in an agenda? That doesn't need to be a motion. Conflicts of interest, I actually have a whole nother section for that, so we'll get to that in a minute. Another common thing that comes up is somebody misses a meeting And then the next meeting, they come in and they're voting on the minutes and they say, oh, no, I wasn't there. I can't vote on this, so I abstain. No, you can vote. It's okay. You can, if you feel uncomfortable voting for the minutes, you can go and watch the video and approve the written minutes that way. But you're voting as a member of the body, not as yourself, not if you're witnessing of the event. So if you think of it as a train, the train has people that get on and off, but the train is still the train. So you can vote because you're a member of the train, not a specific person on it. Being a member of a public committee, they were kind of getting into this a little bit earlier. Things to keep in mind is that you can only take action as a group and only as a group. So you cannot go to, say, some event someplace on your own and say, I am a member of the Arts Commission and I say this because we all say this. You can't represent yourself as the Arts Commission. You are only a member of it. So outside the committee, you can only represent your own views and not the views of the Arts Commission. Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself as that at a meeting, say, a member of the Art Commission?
Yes.
Okay.
But what you want to do is be careful and say also with that you are speaking as yourself tonight.
Okay.
Unless you've been sent as a representative of the Arts Commission by the Arts Commission. Then you can say, I've been sent here to convey this message to you. So say you go to a city commission meeting here down the road. If you go as yourself and you come up for public comment because you're really passionate about something and you want the city commission to do it, you say, I'm coming as a member of, just as myself and not as a representative of the Arts Commission. Unless you all vote and say, we want Trieste to go to the Arts Commission and deliver this message. Then you're saying, I have that hat on. You haven't taken off both your hats. In contrast, so one thing I wanted to point out a little bit earlier, we were talking about developing new policies and things. Elected officials are democratically elected to determine the city's goals and desired outcomes. In contrast, appointed officials are kind of there to assist and improving and achieving the city commission's goals. Now, that doesn't mean don't work and don't do things about, what you're passionate about, like, or think is a good idea for the city. That doesn't mean that. It just means that you want to make sure that your goals, the city commission's goals and your goals line up.
Shouldn't the city be sending a city commissioner to some of our meetings? I mean, we've never had a city commissioner at even one of our meetings, and how are we supposed to advise the city commission when they don't even talk to us?
I don't want to speak for them, obviously, but you could always invite them and say like, hey, Commissioner McGriff, would you mind coming to one of our meetings next time? We're going to be talking about this important issue and we'd love to have your...
Now that's Mayor McGriff.
What's that?
Now that's Mayor McGriff.
Not yet.
Oh, that's right.
She is Commission President, technically, as title, but she's Commissioner McGriff too.
But keep in mind that whenever any one of the commissioners come, they're representing themselves, not the full commission.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think we're getting close.
Getting close to time. I am very close to finished. Let's move on. These are pretty routine, basic things. Don't take gifts over $50. That's one that people tend to bring up.
Sorry, I was just like, I can have $45.
$45.
It was just a funny thought.
Don't steal chairs from the commission chambers, please, and take them home. Report violations to staff. Please don't use your role to fill your pockets, because that's called bribery, and that's not okay. I think that covers that quickly. So I'll go very quickly through actual conflicts of interest and potential conflicts of interest. Actual conflicts of interest are when you would have pecuniary benefit from a decision you're making. So if something is like, we're paying you as a person for a piece of artwork or something like that, that is not okay. You have to announce the conflict in the public meeting and then be completely quiet and don't vote. You can't even participate in the deliberation. A potential conflict is one that could be. So you might benefit from it indirectly somehow, or it's related to a nonprofit or something like that, that's a potential a conflict of interest. So the rules for that is that you must announce the conflict and you can continue to participate after that. But the key is that you announce it and that that's recorded in the minutes. When in doubt, just ask your liaison. Daniel and James are here to help ahead of time before the meeting if you feel like there's something that you need to have an issue, or if you might have an issue with. And if you want to be super safe, announce the conflict and then don't participate in the discussion and don't vote. And that doesn't mean abstain. That means I am not participating in this vote, because an abstention is a kind of vote. Side note, prohibited use of your positions. I talked about that. Don't use your position to fill your pockets or your relatives' pockets or your household pockets or your business's pockets. Government Ethics Commission handles all of that kind of ethics complaints. It's not something it's not the city's rules. These are the ethics board. Complaints go to them. It gets expensive if you violate them. So I have an opportunity for some takeaways if you had any interesting thoughts or opinions. What you thought was the most interesting thing you learned, or had any further questions?
Excellent presentation. I just would
Perfect.
like to say we're only halfway through our agenda
I know, I'm
tonight. And
sorry.
I would like to ask the commissioners at this time, are you willing to stay an additional half hour, say up to 9 o'clock, to complete or at least get through a couple more of these? Anybody opposed to not staying later?
You're opposed to staying later, you mean?
Yeah, anybody opposed to staying later? Anybody?
Sorry, it cut out a little. Are you asking us to stay later than 9 p.m.?
No later than 9 p.m. And I think they are commissioners here that may have to leave a few minutes before that. But we still should have at least a quorum to listen to, get as much through the agenda as we can, and we'll have to table it for the next meeting maybe. But absolutely amazing. I wish we could bring you back for another hour and a half.
Yeah,
We probably could if we invite him at some
aren't you
point.
here? Aren't you here every month or something?
I'm here all the time.
Yeah, he's scheduled to do it once a year.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I mean, we could ask him questions since you're over there.
Yeah. I was actually going to head, do you mean tonight? Because I was going to head out.
No, I mean like
We gotta do the rest
in
of
the
our agenda.
future.
That's true. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Jacob.
you.
So I don't see any public comment at this time.
There is none.
There are none.
Can I make a thought?
Yes.
Given we have identified that we need to work on marketing of the commission and just clarifying who we are to the public, maybe we could make a point to talk about that the next time we meet, and just add it to the agenda. Or I guess I would request that we add that to the agenda for next meeting.
Can we make a note of that to talk about marketing and more visibility for the Art Commission? Is that?
Yeah, I think specifically what kind of information would we want on the website to educate the public about who we are and what our role is and how people can be involved.
And Mary, how do you suggest doing that? Do you want each one of us to think about that and bring it to the next meeting? Or put something together that we can give to Dan and say, these are our thoughts on what would make the...
Yeah, I think my thought is that we each think about what is the important things, maybe look at some other arts commissions and other places to get some ideas and bring some suggestions to discuss, to share. Is that?
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Put that on the next agenda. Thanks, Mary. Due to my involvement in the application and presentation of the mural application, I will be stepping away from the dais as an art commissioner and will be presenting as an Oregon City citizen. Tima Carlson, as vice president, will stand in as chair for this public hearing.
Thank you, Chair Andrews.
On the white wrap.
So once Chair Andrews gets seated, we will start the public hearing. And who is the tourism project specialist? That's you, okay.
Thank you, everybody. This starts the
Before you-
beginning.
1 second. We're going
sorry.
to start the public hearing officially.
There you go.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. We are going to start the mural application presentation. It will be short, but I do want to start our whole presentation with a celebratory song and an introduction to our artist, Brian Crable. Brian Crable is a member of the Confederated Tribes, and I will hand it over to him at this time.
And to honor everyone who's came before us.
Brian, I do need to have you move towards the microphone because the public that are online cannot hear. So that microphone right there.
Sure.
Or I can hand you a separate microphone.
And because of the government thing, I feel your energy right there when you're talking about, I'm a commissioner too, out at my tribe, for our terror commissioner, trying to get tribal employment stuff. And it does get a little, however, so you just, deep breath. Go study another commission somewhere else, our commission in a local, kind of closer city would be nice, something that fits you guys' needs.
Sorry, is there a way you could come closer to the microphone? I think everyone needs to be very close for us to hear.
Test. Just a second.
Do you want me to hold that?
No.
The flaw in Zoom meetings.
Will he let us know when I'm working?
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dan, could you put the mural, oh, thank you, it's up there already. So I'm sure you've read the package, and this is planned on the side of White Rabbit Black Ink Coffee, which is on the corner of 99 and Main. The figure that you see on the left will be slightly around the corner And anything that you want to add, Brian, as long as I have it correctly, so that as you're coming down 99, this will greet people coming into Oregon City. So as they go along 99 or even come into Main Street. One of the main questions we have are, what are these black blocks? Well, what they are is those are the windows of the cafe. And so Brian has planned it so that people can be a part of the mural. It'll be an interactive mural so that the longboat that you see, the dugout canoe, you can sit in the window of the cafe, and Brian is even thinking of making paddles that you can hold a paddle inside the cafe and have a picture of yourself inside the dugout canoe. Or on the longhouse, you could stand by the door, that's that rectangle, and be fishing by the longhouse. So very interactive and very community oriented, and just a beautiful piece of work. So thank you so much, Brian, for your concept and all your hard work so far. So I'm just going to open it up for questions at this point.
Can the camera be pointed towards that image? I can't see it. I'm looking at Trieste.
Can you see it now?
Yes, little. Thank you.
It should also be in your packet.
Yeah, there's a picture of it in your package.
PDF. So we don't foresee any traffic disruption with the possibility of people taking photographs of the building, of the people in the windows.
No, the sidewalk is not even a standard sidewalk. It's wider than a standard. So there's more than enough room for a wheelchair, which is what you always want to be careful of. And then also for the work that's going to be done there. And even because there's enough room for a wheelchair, we still are going to tape it out during work, just so that everybody is safely involved in it.
I think it's wonderful. And I'm just wondering, given the history of Oregon City and with the knowledge that the tunnel that's just, maybe 100 feet away gets regularly graffitied pretty intensely, is there a plan for, I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, I know given the history of our community, is there a plan for dealing with graffiti on the building if it does happen?
Yes, the sealer will be anti-graffiti. There's specific
I mean, I hope it never
sealer.
happens, I really do, but
Yeah, there's specific sealers that you can get for murals that are anti-graffiti. And that was even part of the mural code, that would be required for any murals.
yeah, I knew that, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And we'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything about the work because we're not supposed to do that, but thank you so much.
Are there any other questions?
What's the estimated time frame for start to finish?
We are planning for June 1st to June 24th, depending on the weather, sooner or later. And you're comfortable with that still, Brian? June 1st, okay. This was also funded by the Metro Enhancement Grant through the Three Rivers Artists Guild. Really should have mentioned that at first. So this is the, so we need to use those monies by the end of June, and we're comfortable with that. So the remainder of the grant that we got, one was for restoration, one was for a brand new mural, and this is the brand new mural.
And even though there's not a lot of traffic on that sidewalk, is there going to be like safely? Because so when people are going around the corner, I'm not sure why anybody would go around the corner and walk down that side of McLaughlin, but how's that going to work with pedestrian traffic?
Yeah, we'll have cones out with tape up, and I don't even know if we have to even put sidewalk closed, because even with safeguarding the artist at work, there'll still be room for a wheelchair to go down.
Okay,
But
yeah, it is
for
weird.
just for our safety and our, comfortability with that, we will have safety tape and cones out.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll be doing roll call and then any conflicts of interest.
No, actually, it's the other way around.
Conflicts of interest first and then roll call?
Yes.
Because in his description, he had a roll call first and then 3 points down, conflict of interest.
Yeah, so the conflict of interest needs to be done by roll call. I think that's what it meant. And then we would then do the vote by roll call as well.
Okay. Okay, does anyone have any conflicts of interest?
Actually, we have to go down the actual roster. And I apologize, this was supposed to have been done in the previous ones. And as we're learning, as I'm learning as well, we're getting new skills. So, Commissioner Andrus, do you have any conflicts of interest?
No.
Oh, the conflict of interest is anything where you would benefit personally from. And so sometimes, yeah, financially, or through some of your family members or anyone of like your business. Yeah. And then, okay. So you already said.
No, I do not.
Yeah. Commissioner Carlson.
I am a volunteer at Soul Flags Art Community Center, which is directly across the street from White Rabbit Black Ink.
But you don't benefit.
We wouldn't benefit necessarily, but it is a beautiful art piece and would be bringing more people onto Main Street.
I do understand. Commissioner Jones.
Nope, no conflict.
Commissioner Lugo.
No.
Commissioner Planton.
Nope.
Commissioner Wilson.
Nope.
Commissioner Woodward.
No.
Now we can go for the vote.
You would like us to go for a vote now or a review
Yes.
of application by commissioners?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me.
Okay, so within your packet, the application is in there with details and descriptions, their insurance. Three Rivers Artists Guild would be providing the certificate of insurance. I
It's
understand.
in there.
Okay,
It's already been gotten.
And actually, staff recommendation is that as reviewing the application, that they met all requirements, and we can then move forward to the next step.
Yeah.
all right. And do we have any public comment?
There are no,
There are
Can I make a comment? As commissioner? No? I just wanted to say an appreciation for bringing your ancestors into the room, and I was really moved by the song that you sang, so thank you.
And are there any conditional requirements?
there are no conditional requirements at this time.
Okay, so we will make a call for a vote. If we could do a roll call.
Commissioner Andrus. Pardon me? Sorry, no. Commissioner Lugo. Okay. Commissioner Andrus.
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Lugo.
Yes.
Commissioner Planton.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodward.
Yes.
It is unanimous. Yes.
All right, so we will be closing our public hearing. Thank you. And welcome back, Ms. Andrews, Chair Andrews.
Thank you.
About an hour, 20 minutes.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
So I'm assuming that was the main item we wanted to complete before 9 p.m. That was a must-have.
Yes. Maybe we should table the rest until the next meeting.
I agree.
I agree. We're all pretty.
Commissioner Jones nodded. I'm getting good at that.
Someone make a motion?
Well, so I know we're adding, let's see, can we, a quick summary of what we're adding to the agenda? We had,
Draft bylaws.
draft the bylaws outlining, see, I forgot already, outlining
Those 5 points with the clarification that,
about the representatives gathering and
Like specifics on.
about the we.
What,
the we.
what each
Yes.
of those things looks
the we
like.
versus the I versus the train.
I didn't get the train analogy. Means we'll have to explain.
But that's why we're going to clarify it in our bylaws in terms and language that we as a group understand.
And that others can also understand.
Yes.
Future people that are
Yes,
serving in
future
this role.
commissioners and the public, yes.
I would also like to add, if we can send some representatives to several events coming up this summer, and that's the First City Celebration, July 16, and the Oregon City Festival of the Arts by TRAG in August.
And I'd like to announce in line with that also, I mentioned it before, but I asked Mary Andrews to assist me with the First City Celebration mural project. The RFQ went out for that, but it'll only be going through myself personally, not through the city. That's what Kristen Brown kind of coached me on that. So, but I did want to bring it out to the commission just to make it in all transparency.
And then just a reminder that at the last meeting, you requested that the Parks and Rec Department attend as the guest speaker. Is there anyone else that we would want to have as a secondary speaker? Or do we feel that the agenda is going to be full enough that we might only want to have one?
Yeah, there's one. There was also another opportunity, and I have to announce it now or it'll be too late, was that the First City Celebration, there was made mention before at one of the meetings of having some kind of chalk day that the Art Commission, maybe 1 or 2 people was helping. There is a space in the First City Celebration that downtown Oregon City would give to the Art Commission. But that would have to be, like we talked about tonight, 1 or 2 commissioners at the most that put together a chalk day at the First City Celebration for the community to come in. Is anybody interested in that?
Can we put that on the agenda? Because this is the first I've heard about it, so I don't even know what we're talking about. Can we talk about it in the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, we should have enough
16,
time.
It'll be the same
Yeah,
day, right?
That's right. I keep thinking next month is July. It's only June. Thank God.
And maybe some community people will see it on the agenda and they'll want to participate.
And then we had did we say the promotion?
Yes,
Marketing-
that
the
was
marketing
the other thing,
element.
That was the other
yes,
thing.
yes.
That was on there.
Marketing the information to go on the
Yes.
website to promote the commission.
So just to confirm, I want to make sure, so we're going to move the staff report for the capital projects funding, the staff report for the program development recommendations, the strategic plan update, and the funding of the art mural for the 100th anniversary will be moved to the June meeting, as well as the adding to the bylaws, the draft 5 points, the marketing, the events, I'm sorry, I didn't write that one down right. The chalk day, can someone please clarify the events one so that I can,
First City Celebration, I think just list it together.
okay, thank you.
Is there some way to prioritize that list into like,
I think these items.
that just sounds like a really long list, and I feel like things are going to get cut at the end of the meeting. Is there a way that we can prioritize so that the things that with timelines that are urgent can get discussed and don't get, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. One of the things I would probably make a recommendation is that we could potentially postpone the Parks and Rec, although the concern was about the Parks and Rec was that what kind of summer art programs were they going to be participating in? Unfortunately, the 2 staff reports, I believe, will be something that will lead to some discussion.
Is that, Dan, is that something you would be comfortable looking at? Like which of those things have a June summer timeline? Like with
Oh,
the
I see what you're
events,
saying. I see
you
what
know,
you're
and make sure to put those higher on the agenda, whereas like discussing the bylaw adjustment, like that could help happen in 2 months or 3
Yes.
months, or even
I
the
could-
social media. It's urgent, but it's not like an event that's gonna happen this summer.
Yeah, I can look at that.
In the event for the Arch Bridge celebration, I think I keep calling First City, but the Arch Bridge celebration for the mural, we can table that, because I just wanted to make it transparent that we were partnering with it, me and Mary Andrew, and just following all these rules from tonight, but that's not till October. And the RFQ is already out, and I'll keep you in the loop, but I don't think that's really a topic we have to put for discussion. I think the chalkboard, if somebody wanted to do that from the commission, the chalk day at the First City celebration, which is July 16th, I think would be a quick item on the agenda.
My only question for that would be, would you want to have a conversation about the idea where if we discuss it as a group, don't we have the option as a group to have you represent the commission if we decide as a group for you and Mary to represent the commission at the, isn't that something we're capable of? And so we could have that on the agenda as a conversation, and then it wouldn't just be you guys on the side being your individuals. You could say, I am here on behalf of the commission if we as a commission decide to do that on the agenda. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it felt more official?
Sure, that sounds good. That's a good idea.
Cool. I'm learning.
Gotta work the system.
I will
So
just want
keeping that one on the agenda so that we can make them an official decide and
Since it's got a very short timeline, that will be
Yes.
higher up on the list.
yes,
I'll make it like 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes.
it'll be quick.
Okay.
Do people feel that not 90 minutes is long enough for these meetings, given the fact that we have a lot of people
Yes.
saying we need more ways to discuss things?
We also had a lot of questions.
No, I understand that, but we ran long, I think the last 2-3 meetings we've run over.
We have run
I think we just have to
15,
prioritize better and do, because, I mean, getting here before 6 and staying till, I mean, that's just a lot.
well, the meeting starts at 7.
Well, sorry, but yes. I was thinking about my life, but yes.
But yeah, I'm just throwing it out there that if that was one way to resolve the issue is we just put more time on the clock to discuss things, half an hour, but.
Or to enforce the 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there any way in the agenda that you can put minutes, time on it so that we can say, oh, your 15 minutes is up? I mean, if the presentation from Parks and Rec, we could say no more than 20 minutes or no more than 15 minutes so that we could keep the ball rolling. I knew this was going to be long anyway, but.
I mean, as chair, I think you can make that call. You can say, you're done, and use the hammer to bring it down.
Move the meeting along.
I'll make my own personal notes then.
Cool.
I'll bring my hook.
Yeah.
My
think that's
my
the
only
best.
concern about setting a time limit is, and you know, maybe you disagree, and please do if, but that we have a long discussion that actually is super important. That we put a cap on it, and it actually stifles the ability to continue that conversation. Although in this case, the chair could then say, we would like to extend this conversation, right, and then have everyone agree and move forward.
And then we learned we have the option to appeal that, so.
It's true. Just a note, I will make sure that that slide presentation that he provided today is available for you so that you have all those lovely notes right and available to you at any time. And I will keep those notes with me just so that at any time you're like, Dan, remember that he said this? I can say, yeah, here, you want to be with page 4. Does that?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
And I just want to quickly say at this time, I'm excited about those items that the city recommendations. And I've already started to work a little bit about an idea for kind of a incubator artists with Downtown Oregon City Association with some ideas that Liz got from a conference that I think she's in fact still on, that called me from the conference and said, Main Streeters are working with your art commissions and they're doing blah, 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 blah. So, and right in line with the city recommendations are. So I'm kind of excited to get into that without being rushed next week. Anybody else with ideas?